Hello everyone, this is Steven with SG Saber Design, and we got a quick one today. This is an Ultimate Works Kanan. I'm not sure what they call it. Something about blind sacrifice or something along those lines. It's a very nice saber. It's got an interesting, I don't know if you want to call it quick disconnect, but if you take this little greebly out here, the emitter area will come off, kind of like they show in the on the show. One thing that does affect, you now have about it's almost 4 inches of blade depth, which I guess if you're swinging this, that's going to be handy. But if you're going to use a short blade, it's going to look like a short blade. But anyway, this one came to me just for repair. Under this card, there are 2 SMD push button switches, tactile switches, mounted sideways on a board, along with 2 single color LEDs. One of the push buttons had broken off, so I had to get in there with a really fine tip soldering iron and solder that back in, and then I also used some UV curing glue or clear resin to kind of put around the back and the sides of those switches to just give it a little bit more reinforcement, so that when you're hitting it, because basically this button just kind of pushes on them and there's nothing behind them to hold them other than the 4 tiny little specks of solder on each one. So these should be pretty solid now. I don't know what's normally holding this card in. When I got it, the card was in a bag and it just slides in loose. So what I did was I put just a tiniest little dab of E6000 either under this edge or this edge. So if you push on it, it's going to slide off again, but it'll hold there fairly well right now. It's just a static piece. There's no buttons or anything under there. And it also came with only a couple of base sound fonts, which is pretty unusual for a Profi, but so what I did was, and the user wanted a few more, so what I did was I tried to figure out how this was wired, and if anyone's from Ultimate Works watching this, you don't need to fill that whole back area with hot glue. It's just not quite filled, but you can see in the crack area. I took this connector off and it's just a ton of hot glue in there. There's no way to move that board without damaging something. So luckily someone was able to get me the config so that I could see just where, so there is a blade here, obviously you got your main blade, and there's another blade here. So once I figured out where everything was wired, because you can't quite see, there's a big glob of hot glue, so I couldn't see that which other blade was being used. So got that figured out. And since we have all those blades being used, it kind of limits the number of fonts you can add to a Profi 2.2. So we've got about 13, 14 fonts on here now, using all these different blade styles. And I did use the original blade style for the arrows, and I will explain why we did that in a moment. Now this chassis is fairly basic. It does have both switches available to you. I did take off the heat shrink that was on here, trying to get to it. It really didn't serve any purpose anymore. There had been holes poked in to get to the reset and boot switches, and then back here to get to those, so it was just mostly in the way. So this does not have a kill switch on it, so you're the kill switch on this. So positive side is up here towards there, and one thing I do kind of like is the way they did this. There's a little piece of plastic taped onto the SD card, which makes it extremely easy to get that in and out. So you just kind of pull that out of the way, put your battery in, positive side up here. This is a flat top. And we're live. So when you're not using it, it will time out eventually. I did make sure that was in the code, but it's just safer to pull that battery out if you're going to have it sitting for a little while. So on here you've got an activation, and so you can see we've got a blade style here, and you cannot see the arrow blade styles on the chassis. And aux button here. You can cycle through your...
I knew I could count on you. I am told it is the dark saber.
And so most of these, for this one, I set them up to mirror the blade. Now, here's the other thing about this chassis. I know these look like they're spaced unevenly, but where the actual pins go, it can go either way. So, I know there's no way you're going to see the other connector in there. So when you put this in, it's either going to go with the arrows facing you or the battery facing you. And it will go either way. And the difference, you'll see, it switches which way these switches work. So one way you'll have activation and aux, turn 90 degrees and you'll have aux and activation. And it also changes the way these flash. If you're going to have one of them on, it'll be the other one. So if I put it in with the battery facing me, turn that just a bit till it figure out where it goes. There it goes. Okay, so if the arrow is red, what I found is this is activation, this one is aux. So let me show you.
I'd put that on ice if I were you.
And then you've got your aux here, which will switch your fonts.
Go away!
Now, if I were to pull this out, turn it about 90 degrees, and plug it back in, now we've got the green arrow on. Now this is your activation and this is your aux.
It's just Ben these days.
So personally, I prefer to have my activation button up front. Just seems to fit better where, if I'm going to hit that aux button to do clashes, I like it closer to my thumb. But that's my choice, and with this one, you can choose either way. So it's kind of neat. The pommel does not have any holes down here. It's all the sound venting is through these here. So let's go through this real quick. And let me throw in, I've got a short blade here. Like I said, it's a deep, there we go, all the way in. Get that all snug. And
Blue.
Calcestis. A speeder bike.
You will try.
Anakin.
This party's over.
Mace.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Luke there.
Rey Skywalker. The Jedi Order fell a long time ago.
Ahsoka.
Kylo Ren.
Sebulba.
Kanan Jarrus.
And back to the beginning, we got Kanan. This is Juan Sith's version. Blind Master, I think. So that's basically all we got here. Like I said, it was just a repair. This only came to me yesterday, and it was a fairly quick repair. And just adding those sound fonts is really the only thing that took any time at all. So, Shelby, this will be in the mail to you in the morning. And if you have any questions or any further needs, you can contact me anytime. Thanks, everyone, and may the force be with you.